Fanshaw design. It's Bond Speed condoms.
Touch it safe. So anyway,
it's for those little moments in life.
So you don't get fucked by the ATMs.
There you go.
Right. All
Everybody,
right.
we are back at Shift and Steer, and man, the last episode of this show was so good, talking about overhaul and TV production with Brett. Boy, let me get it right.
So good, you don't even know my name.
Yeah.
I tried to combine it all. I'm so excited.
We forgot to change our shirts.
Communications. And we're excited to hear what's coming next. So in this episode, we're going to talk about things such as SEMA Battle of the Builders. We're going to talk about a show called The Fixers and everything else that's coming up.
From, some video game stuff as well, right? You've got going on. But before we get started, a shout out to our friends at Geico. And did you know that right now, Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's 15% on top of the money you could already be saving with Geico. So what are you waiting for? Your dog to make you breakfast in bed? Well, as nice as that sounds, that's probably not going to happen. But at least there's never been a better time to switch to Geico. Save an extra 15% when you switch by October 7th. Just visit geico.com to learn more. That's geico.com. All right. So like you touched on was the Bud's been a producer in the TV space, but really an innovator in the automotive world with shows like Rides and Overhaulin and Living the Low Life and countless others, and documentaries about Ford and Ford's Raptor program. Lots of cool stuff in there. But also, as much as we've seen these shows and enjoy these shows, you guys may not know the impact he's had on this globally. I mean, we all love Chip Foose. Chip Foose is a big star here, but Chip can't walk through an airport in some countries because he gets mobbed by people. He's like Tom Cruise out there, because Overhaulin has been such a huge international success. And before we get into some of the new stuff, I just wanted to ask you, Bud, why do you think internationally, why do you think in some countries, and maybe you can name which countries are the most successful, I don't know if it's European countries or Latin American countries, but why was Overhaulin specifically such a huge international success?
Well, I think you got to point back to Detroit in the 60s, right? What we were able to do is automotive and American muscle cars and automotive cars are loved around the world, right? So that's number one. And then when we were able to make magic with Chip and bring Chip up as the premier designer and the builder, and what we ended up doing, and you kind of hope this in television in general, is you hope you can transcend languages, like and transcend everything. And I think we did that with our storytelling. See, the weird thing is, sorry, Brad, is Overhaul is not a car show. It never was designed as a car show. And sometimes I have to bite my tongue and yell at people because they always like, oh, you do car shows. Well, not really, because really the Overhauling to me is a show about people, right? We were taking the car is really just a connective tissue that bridged people together, right? There was an old car that sat in the field. It was my grandfather's car. Always trying to rebuild it and give it back to him. We cast from the story first, right? Even when we do celebrities, which aren't necessarily our most popular shows because people get pissed off we do celebrities. But if there's something good we can do with that person and show them good and move things forward and help them do something, father, son, daughter. I mean, there are just a litany of stories. And it doesn't have to be, not everybody has to die of cancer. It just could be like the ones that always got me, because it really kind of resonated with me personally, was always like a father-son one. We did one recently. We do one about every episode. There's a father-son one. If it's a kid who wants to fix up his dad's car, you got me. I don't even know what the car is yet. I'll just look at the car and I'm like, Chip, do you like this? Because I hope you do, because we're doing it. We always cast from the
Chip's like, can I shorten it 3/4 of an inch first?
Yeah, if I can make it into a Camaro.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, keep going.
But it's really, and luckily for us, Discovery Channel has a very, very broad reach, and that format was allowed to reach across. I mean, when you're helping people and you're connecting people, right? Because remember, people cry, right? This is Extreme Home
Chip
Makeover.
does every episode.
Oh, he is such a big baby. What a pansy. He balls his ass off. And then this season you'll see it too. But like, he recently lost his father, Sam, who was a really good friend of ours and did a bunch of builds with us. Anytime there's a mention of someone's father, it's waterworks for hours. He goes bananas. So I mean, he's a really sensitive, connected kind of guy. And by the way, let's go back to it. It's a fucking car show. So wait a minute, why is a car show, at the end of every car show, people are bawling their eyes out? Because there's always those touch points, those memories. One of the best episodes was and I'll give you guys a story, and I know my stories are long, but I really don't care. So
that's what we're doing here.
So I always end up, there's two things. I have a producer thought process. When I get another season of Overhaulin, which I always end up getting, right? The last one, I take a lot of pride into doing something, and you can go back and look at all the ones we've done. But what I tried to do in the last episode is, I think this is going to be the last episode of Overhaulin ever. I'm going to make it big. I'm going to make it big. It's going to be kind of celebrity. It's going to be kind of big. And if it's not the last one, then I want the last episode of the season to give us a big lift and a big push, so advertisers and people and ratings look, and that'll maybe carry us to the next season. It's always been my thought process. There was a certain story that I did at the last season of episode 11, which, by the way, we got canceled, right? So the last season, episode 11, was the last season we did on Velocity. Then we took a 3-year break, and then we got put back on for Motor Trend. But the last episode of season 11, I got contacted by a guy named Morgan Luttrell. And Morgan Luttrell is a Navy SEAL. Awesome, studly guy. He happens to have a twin brother named Marcus Luttrell. Now, Marcus Luttrell is also a Navy SEAL. And they were in Buds, and they were both, so they're identical twins. True story. Identical twins. Both of them joined the Navy SEALs. Both of them went through different career paths. Marcus Luttrell went on to, unfortunately, be part of Operation Red Wing, where Michael Murphy and his group is pinned down in Afghanistan, and they all got killed, and they made the movie Lone Survivor off of, right? Yeah. And he was going to get decapitated, and then literally a goat herder saved him. So, you know, it's a very involved story, and he's written a book and he's become a national hero, and he doesn't think he's a hero, and he's the nicest guy in the world. Anyhow, long story short, maybe. So think about it. Here's what happens. Morgan and Marcus Luttrell are athletes, and they're growing up in Texas, and they're complete badasses. So they decide, like when they're 12 years old, that by the time they hit the 40th birthday, okay, remember they're twins, whoever is doing the worst out of the two, so whoever's more successful, they made a bet. Whoever loses, right? So whoever's the least successful out of the two, the least successful brother has to buy the successful brother the car of their dreams. So they settled on a 67 GT 500 Mustang, right? True story. So and they did that like 30 years ago. So 30 years ago, two brothers in teenagers who grow up to be these badass American warriors. One of them was in, heated combat. They have this story. I don't care about, I care about Navy SEALs for sure, but that part's not relevant. And what it is you have twin brothers who made a bet 30 years ago. Okay. Yeah. So now you got me. So Morgan, is a former Navy SEAL. He's studying to be a traumatic brain surgeon. These guys are just overachievers, really good friends of mine now, but massive overachievers. But Morgan's a student. He's out of SEAL team. He's a student, and he is working with a small company in Texas, and he buys a Brookville body, a 67 Mustang, and he's putting a couple $1,000s in there because he's got so much honor. He does not want to welch on this bet. He's like, my brother doesn't think I'm doing it because my brother is up here. He's got books and movies and motivational tours, and he's obviously won the bet because literally Morgan's a college student right now. So he's a college student, so he's not going to make this bet. We get connected. We have a conversation, and I said yes. I said, okay, I think this is going to be the story for us, right? So we end up making a deal with a company who was working on the car, brought them out to it. They were amazing. And we brought a really big A team in there, and we went bananas on the car, right? Because Chip has this thing. It's got an amazing Ford motor in it. We kind of do an Eleanor kind of look and feel on it. We designate the car, do all kinds of stuff to this car, and it's completely badass. The prank, which you always have to, and this is just an art, right? But when I like pranking badass guys who could kill you or kill Chris. Actually, if you haven't seen the Corvette episode, you should watch it. But I like to poke people who can murder Chris because because I'm not near them, and B, you get a really good sense. You get a really good sense of their of who they are, right? So we were told by some insiders the one thing that he does not like. He gets paid for book signings, right? And one thing he doesn't like is when it really gets him is when he has to go do a book signing at a small store and no one shows up. So of course, that's what we did. We rented a small bookstore. We literally flew him out there. Chris played a book, like an overzealous bookstore owner, and he put all his monies on Marcus Luttrell showing up and doing books. And he hands him a $5,000 check. Literally tells him a story. This is my last $5,000. I invested in you and hoping I was getting an influx of business that was going to save my bookstore. Yeah. So Marcus sat there and looked around. Nobody showed up. Not one human being, right? So Marcus looked around, assessed the situation, because these guys are they're just eerily calm. Signs 10 or 15 books, takes the check, hands it back to him, says, "You keep the check. I appreciate everything you're doing." And he tries to walk out. And then in comes Chip. And he looks at Chip and he looks at Chris and he goes, "Wait a minute." And he's starting to figure this out. And we overhauled him, right? So, I mean, yes, it's a car show because we happened to build a car for him, but it's about two brothers, the bond between two brothers. And to long-winded answer Matt's question is, that's why the show is successful. It's a much deeper concept than people think, right? It's not like, oh, we're going to build a car. Hey, what do you think? It's about connecting people. And you know, and Marcus, to this day, Marcus texts me, "Hey brother, how you doing?" Like, "How am I doing? How you doing?" I'll text him back and he's like, "Thanks for the car." And he's really good people. Yeah. So that's it. That's why.
Beautiful story.
You can tell from the character, just the idea of handing the check back, you know, just going, "Hey, you know, this wasn't a successful event. I get it. Not all of them will be. Here you go." And, you know, well,
he's a gigantic, intimidating Navy SEAL. He could have screamed at him and like ripped his clothes off and belittled him and beat the shit out of him in the store. And he just looked at him calmly, said, "Here's your check back."
Or a deal's a deal. He could have taken his $5,000 and walked away. You know, like it just could have been that. Like that's what it is. But anyway, well, thank you for that story. So what's going on new with you? Because BCII is, you know, we're doing an automotive podcast. We focus a lot on that, but you've done a lot more way beyond just the automotive space, if you will, from travel shows and cooking shows and things like that. But what are some of the things that you're working on now?
Well, right now, a couple of big things we're working on. So we created a series for SEMA called Battle of the Builders, right? Mm-hmm. There's a couple really interesting that we did during the pandemic, right? So during the pandemic, I created a series called High Horsepower House Calls, where we actually have AJ, who's one of the hosts of Overhaulin. She calls in to people and find out what everybody's doing, because what we decided was, while everybody's locked down, what car guys are doing, they're building shit. They're in their garage building stuff. And you talk to some of the vendors and stuff like that. Sorry, I gotta get rid of that. You talk to some of the vendors and stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, our sales are up," because when in life, and I just say this for myself, are you going to have 8 weeks, which now has turned into 16 weeks? We don't want to talk about that. But when you have 8 to 10 to 12 weeks just to do shit around the house and build your projects, people are doing it. It's absolutely crazy.
Guilty.
So we decided to do a high power horsepower with Optima battery. They were awesome. It was a great thing. Then we transitioned that into another series for SEMA called Ready to Battle, right? So I have another series. It's an online series, or a kind of a COVID-friendly series where we do remote production. We're doing stuff for Ready for Battle. Ready for Battle is AJ again is the host, because she's the host of Battle of the Builders, and checks in with all the previous Battle of the Builder winners and starts talking to them about, or not winners, but all the top 10 guys, and about what are they building for SEMA.
Mm-hmm.
And we recently started our other web series called Road to the Battle of the Builders, and we are doing 20 of those, and that's going to lead us to our History Channel production that we do, which is a 1-hour special on Battle of the Builders. Now, the odd thing about Battle of the Builders is it has really become like one of the biggest prizes. And I created it because here's the thing. We've all done this, Brad. You got to remember this. Five years ago, 10 years ago, everybody works their ass off and does these amazing cars at SEMA, and then they go to SEMA and then they're kind of gone. Like, there's nothing like, so it's the only place where you get a Riddler winner, you get an Amber winner, you get an AMBR, you get all these really cool top cars. They're all going to go to SEMA. Well, all you have to do is go to SEMA and you can enter, right? And then the way we've done up the criteria, then the builders get to judge it. So you're not judged by, you know, a certain amount of people. You just all of a sudden you take it, and now we get the top 10 or top 12 now, and the builders get to judge who has the best car. So it's a really cool stage, and SEMA did a great job kind of allowing us to elevate and highlight these people, right? And we have a Young Guns category now, because that's really a real big push for SEMA to do something in Young Guns. So that's one show. I'm still doing a ton of media right now, online media and also television media on ESPN for the Score Baja 1000. A very close friend of mine, Roger Norman, owns Score. And I stopped participating in the race so I could go do some television, but doing television down in Mexico for over a decade now. And we had 2 races canceled, but we had the last 2 races of the year, September and November. The Baja 500, the Baja 1000 will be on ESPN. I have another show that I've sold to BYU TV, and this is really kind of one of my favorite shows. It falls in line with what we've been talking about with Overhaulin, about you know, shows about people. BYU is an amazing organization, an amazing network, and they are allowing us, or did allow us, by the way. We'll talk about that too. But we're in our 2nd season. But they're allowing us to go around the world and build infrastructures for people that are, you know, less fortunate, right? So we have built. We did a 275-foot well for a school in Nicaragua. We built a composting fish farm and chicken farm in the hills of Thailand. We built a horse therapy ranch in Bulgaria. We have been around the world. Last year I did 169 flights in 70 countries.
Wow.
Kind of going around the world, you know, scouting and looking at these places. We've been just about everywhere. We built a convenience store for the Apache Nation up in Arizona. There's an amazing organization in San Diego called Shelter to Soldier that saves shelter dogs, trains them, and gives them to soldiers to combat PTSD. And so we rebuilt all their kennels and rebuilt their training center. So when you're in television and you do anything in media, you get a partner like BYU, and they tell you literally, like, go save people's lives and go help people around the world. It is absolutely a dream job. It's hard because all I want to do is focus and design and build and do stuff around the world for this amazing organization and our amazing group. And we have 4 builders. It's basically a TV show, and it is a TV show. We have 4 amazing builders, but we literally go around the world and build stuff. So that's on BYU TV, and it's called The Fixers.
Now,
that
one's really great.
One of the things we're seeing here, Bud, and you've been so immersed in it, is that TV's changed, because it used to just be certain channels you could sell to, but with this proliferation, you've been saying, you know, I know BYU's been around since maybe 2000, but now it's available on multi-formats. You're talking about how you're doing shows that are online, they're on TV, they're on, you know, different available connections. How's that really changed your business? Because hasn't it opened the gates to give you a lot more opportunity?
No, 100%. You know, guys like me who create content, right? We create content. I really don't care how you get it. You can beam it to your bathroom, whatever the technology is, right? There's two things that are happening, right? That really kind of benefit my company and who we are as custom content makers is we are winning, right? The consumer's winning because now we have choices, and we're winning by viewing. We understand that you got to remember in the old days, and I don't know, when all of us were growing up, 3, 4 channels, 10 channels, whatever it is, there were other people for whatever reason and whatever mathematical algorithm they were figuring out what we were supposed to watch and when, right? Now we are determining what we're supposed to watch, and we are determining what is popular. Yeah. So people that have an interest, and by the way, and one thing we really found out with Motor Trend too is like all of a sudden, if there's 2 million people who love Overhaulin, by the way, that's a big number. So we should get those 2 million people. It's not like, oh, you only got 2 million people watching, you're canceled, which by the way has happened before. I got canceled off TLC because I got 1.2 million people like, your ratings are down, you suck. But the way that the industry is moving is like you have a core of 2 million and you can speak to those people. Yeah. So custom content, everybody's making their own content. I have clients all over the place, right? Different kind of clients come to me all the time. I mean, we are consuming more content now than ever before. We do it on our phones, we do it on our tablets. Kids are watching it 24 hours a day. So being a custom content company, especially one that has the ability of what we do live, we do race. There's literally, and I'll tell you a show I did, 3.5, 4 years ago. I did it for multiple reasons because I'm super cocky, but I produced a show. I created a show in 2016 I created it in 2015 and sold it and then went in 2016. But I created a show called Everest Air. And it was after reading an article. So I was reading an article about, and I couldn't understand it because I'm kind of an adventurous kind of guy and I do a lot of nutty stuff. But I was reading an article about Everest and about how when you're on Everest and with your climbing team, and if one of your guys gets sick, you got two choices. There's two choices. You either all turn around as a group, which is the smartest and safest thing to do, which none of us as alpha males are ever going to be, safe, or you split into your group, take some of your Sherpas and some of your high altitude workers, and they try to take your sick party down, right? So now you're unsafe. Now you're going forward with half as many support staff as you're supposed to. People are not being safe. And if you do get sick at certain elevations, you're basically dead. And I'm making a long story short, but I created a thing called Everest Air. I went to Nepal. I went to a network, Travel Channel. They believed me somehow, magically, and they bought the show for me. I literally went to Nepal, hired 2 helicopters, brought some doctors. I hired 5 of the baddest Sherpas on the planet. Everybody was mad at me because I literally went in and said, we're going to put a rescue team together to, it's very funny. The climbing community is a little wacky, but I hired the best Sherpas away from everybody, paid more money for the best Sherpas because we were doing a rescue team. And then we had to go through base camp. I was at base camp in Everest and we were talking to all the climbing teams and we said, hey, by the way, you should check it online because it's called Everest Air. It's unbelievably good. So we would talk to these teams. We're like, hey, by the way, here's our radio frequency. This is our doctor. I got 2 helicopters who can fly pretty high. They're B-3E helicopters, Eurocopters. We have medical. We have this. It's all for free just in case you get sick or some of your party gets sick. You don't have to risk anything. Our Sherpas will be traversing the mountain. They'll come get them. We had medicine, we had decks, we had all the capability, we had a sled. We'll come get you. Awesome. Half of the teams told us to fuck off because we're not going to get sick, leave us alone. We're like, okay, well, just in case you do, here's our frequency. So we sat at base camp, we rescued 38 people off the mountain.
Wow.
And saved 7 people's lives. We did the highest altitude rescue in history, which is about 28,050 feet, probably 500 feet from the summit. There was a girl named, her name oddly was Seema, spelled differently, but her name was Seema. She basically sat down, was freezing to death, and our Sherpas went up and got her and pulled her down. So I did that. The reason why I did that, the story is I did that as a challenge to myself, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, if I can produce a television show on the highest peak in the most harshest condition, because it was cold and there's avalanches every night. We were in Nepal for 3 months. It was isolating. I froze my ass off. I grew a beard, which I don't look really good in a beard. I kind of look like a homeless person. Yeah, I look like that. That's what like Aaron, but worse.
Good. Glad it's worse.
Yeah, but that's a lot of manscaping. That takes a lot of time. I didn't have that kind of time. Mine was all straggly. But we really did that to understand our capabilities, who we are. Right.
Yeah.
I think once I have a bunch of shots, you should see them, but I have a bunch of shots with all my BCI logos on these Pelican cases, and they're mounted on the top of yaks, and we're going through the Himalayas with the yaks, with our cameras and our Pelican cases on the back of yaks, walking in. Because you have to walk in. You can't fly in. You have to really acclimatize to get there. So I did that as a push to myself, and also a badge of our company, is like, I can literally do anything. You fucking can't stop me. And if you want a show at the bottom of the ocean, which I'm working on right now, actually, I can't tell. I talk to you
both extremes.
Understood.
Yeah,
Understood.
yeah.
Space is obviously next. So
yes, I'm going to space.
Yeah. You should.
All I know is I want to work with you, man. I want to problem solve some of your ideas.
Oh, yeah.
So, Aaron, you say that, but I don't think so, because he literally said he was trying to get Chris Jacobs killed. And then he just said he took a bunch of people to the Everest. And now he wants to take everyone to the bottom of the ocean. I don't know that I want to work with you.
I would like to say there's not much in this life that I haven't done, and I think Bud's going to challenge me on that. I'm all for it. I've lived a great life, and heck, I'll take the risk.
I'll push you. Did you guys see? Not to go backward. Did you guys see the Chris Jacobs Corvette episode of this season? Did you guys see that?
No, I don't think so.
You did?
No, I didn't.
No, I don't think he saw it.
First of all, Google it right now while we're talking, and I'll tell you what it is. So we've done like 130 episodes together, and it is always, I read people really well, and I definitely know fighting and distance and understand how to poke people pretty well. So Google the Corvette episode right now. You can do it. And I'll tell you about it, because if you haven't seen it, your listeners got to watch it, because it is unbelievable. And I'll tell you what happened. So we had this guy with this 2007, 2008 Corvette, Stingray, might have been 2013. Anyhow, it was a badass Corvette. It was 2013, by the way. And yes, exactly. They posed as
I saw it.
They posed as a band, right? So I created this scenario where they pose as a band, and they want this guy to be the lead singer for reasons, because he was a lead singer in a band. So they go to his house, set up in his front lawn to do a demo. And while he's listening to him, Chris is supposed to spear off with his guitar, get a little out of control, take the guitar and smash it through the front window of the car, and then walk around to the back of the car. My directions, and Chris will tell this to you, my directions were very clear. You're just smashed the guy's car, so now you got to keep the car between him and you, because he's a very, very big dude. Don't let him get a hold of you. And then Chip's supposed to run up and say, you're on Overhaulin, and everything's cool. So Chris always, to a T, listens to me, and we have for 130 episodes and every prank we've ever done. Something happened, so he smashed. You'll see it in the episode, and it's online right now. Smashes the guy window, and then he goes to the back of the car, and I'm watching this. I'm in the truck watching it. I'm 15 feet away, and then he sees the guy walking towards him, putting his phone away, got his hands behind his back. So he goes to high five him. He thought that was a great guitar solo. I'm going to high five you. And the guy drops him. Just bang.
Yeah.
It's the first time ever.
All you see is blonde hair going.
And Chris has that long wig on with the long hair. And all you see is.
Oh my God. It was like, I jumped out of the truck. Chris hit the fucking ground. I thought he died because the guy's so big. Chip, to his credit, Chip is the lead designer and the superstar, not a fighter, rolls over and grabs the guy's arm because the guy was going to hit Chris again. And he's like, whoa, Glenn, you're on Overhaul. It was the craziest.
Oh, I thought Chip immediately started to cry.
He did as the guy's elbow went backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. If you haven't seen it, it's the best clip.
It's worth watching.
Oh my God.
There's great screenshots and like Google images of Chris just getting punched in the face. Sorry, Chris. Listen, we love Chris. Chris is fantastic. He's been a friend for years. He's been on the show. Like we get it, but this was bound to happen, right? I'm surprised he made 12 seasons or whatever without Chris getting punched.
I know, right? Hey, no offense, it's about time. It was about
I did a car stolen, damaged.
So the funny thing about it is he was supposed to go to Barrett-Jackson the next day and be live on camera. So I was like, his nose is broke, his teeth are broke, his jaw's broke. I'm thinking he's going to be dead. To Chris's credit, he popped right back up and said, I'm okay. I think I'm okay. And he's kind of feeling it. And I got out of the truck really quick and got people separated and got people calmed down. But to Chris's credit, he popped right back up, got dropped by this big, gigantic dude. He just smashed his car. But you're right. It's a happy accident. We didn't want it to happen, but man, is it a good clip.
It's a great episode.
Great TV. Yeah. Great TV.
Stories.
What was Chris's thoughts? Was he like, Bud, you definitely have to keep this in the show? Or was there any discussion of, hey, we can cut it out if you want? Or you being you're like, fuck it, we're doing it.
It was a little tense it's funny when you deal with networks, right? They're all like, oh my God, okay, this is gonna be legal issues, this and that. And then they're like, is Chris okay? Yeah, Chris is fine. He's good. He's fine with it. Okay, good. Send us, we want to promo it. So,
yeah.
That's exactly and that's the order it comes. Oh, we gotta talk to legal. Is Chris okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's use things.
Yeah, it's good.
Chris tell us about it. And he made a mistake. He knows he made a mistake. He's like, he was supposed to zig when he zagged, supposed to go out to the street and go, you're on Overhaul and it's over with. And literally, the guy was creepy though, because he just smiled, put his phone away, walked up to Chris and dropped him. Calm as could be. Wasn't angry, wasn't screaming. He was like, oh, that's great. He's like, Chris, like, just read him wrong. Like, hey, dude, you like that. Okay, cool. It was crazy.
Wow.
That's in this season. That, like I said, it doesn't get old. Like,
it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
So
before we run out of time, tell us about a video game project that you're working on.
Exactly.
Okay, so you
words out of my mouth. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So this is pretty amazing, and I'm actually in the game a bunch of times, which I didn't mean to be. So obviously, I do a lot of stuff with Roger Norman down in Baja at Score. I partnered with an amazing video game company. And video games are different. They're not console games, but they're different now. This is really more of a downloadable Facebook game that you can download on your thing at the App Store. So we created this little series or this little video game called Baja Big Air, right? That's it right there. Yeah. It's on the App Store. It's a really cool, fun, kind of sticky, fun little game where you can go down to Mexico and you can race a bug, you can modify your car. So we just thought that, and it's really been good since the pandemic hit and people are sitting at home. So we've launched the video game. We've kind of worked on it, created it, worked directly with Jeff over at F84 and launched the video game. I believe we pushed that version out in March. And it's amazing. So yeah, go to the App Store, download Baja Big Air, play it.
Looks great.
I play a character in it. You got to beat me sometimes. My little cars I have my logo on the side of one of the cars. It's kind of fun. I talk a lot of shit in the video game.
Very cool.
What? Doesn't sound like you at all.
I know. It's usually so imagine. Soft,
just soft spoken, just quiet. Yeah, good.
I heard an audio clip and there's a lot of bleeping, so that must be your segment, right?
Well, you know what? Do you guys got anything else? Because this is just story after story. It's awesome.
Loving it.
It's so great.
It's good. Just one more thing before we wrap up. You got to have something else on the wish list of shows, right? There's got to be a show that you want to do that nobody's bought yet, or something that you haven't been able to figure out how to do yet. But if here we are, we're sitting with Bud Brutsman. What's your one wish list of show, or just give us like a high level or something like, like what Aaron was saying is, I want to shoot something in space. I don't even know what it is, or I want to go underwater because I don't know what it is, or something. Do you have an idea that you've been kicking around for a while, or just an element of a show that you haven't been able to do yet?
Wow. It's interesting. What we try to do on a daily and weekly basis, reinvent ourselves all the time. And I always try to push ourselves. I have probably 20 or 30, some of them about, which I can't talk about. I do have a submarine show, a submarine competition show. I wasn't joking about that. I'm doing a submarine competition show, innovating and pushing people to, get treasure off the bottom of the ocean floor. So I'm working on that.
Sounds awesome.
Man.
I do have a very large automotive show that I'm working on and dealing with a couple big networks on. It kind of deals around American muscle cars versus the world. That's about all I can say about it. I can give you a big bomb, a good one, kind of a sneaky insider, because I've already signed it, but you'll have to hear more of it. I'm working closely. So I'll just tell you it. So Christopher Lloyd, who played Doc Brown in Back to the Future.
Sure, I just watched it last night.
Oh, you did?
Another great creator. Yeah.
Well, he's become a close friend of mine, and him and I have created a show, and we sold it to Discovery Channel.
Oh, so awesome!
Cool. We were supposed to be filming it already, but it's not out yet. Yeah. But it's gonna be. We're in the middle of purgatory right now, so I don't want to give you too many details of it, but it was such a Chris is a. He's an amazing character. He's an amazing actor. Super smart. He's 81. He came to me and says, I want to do this kind of show. And we kind of built it together. He was with me in the meetings, and we sold to Discovery, and that will be coming out hopefully in the fall, if we can get through some of this, the pandemic protocol that we have. So that one's coming.
Yeah.
The dream really is just Matt, the dream is just to continue to innovate and continue to do my things in television. I mean, I don't do ridiculous reality TV. I do my brand of TV, which is sometimes harder and more hardcore. I say it's hardcore. I have this, this hard exterior, but at the end of the day, we like to help people. We like to change lives with what we do in television. Doesn't matter if it's Overhaulin or Fixers or Animal Rescue Squad or saving people on the tip of Mount Everest. If we can use the power of media for good, that's what I like to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Bud, we appreciate you coming on, especially for 2 weeks in a row. You're the best in the business, and for those of us that have been a little bit into this Hollywood scene, even just dabbled a toe into it, it's incredibly difficult to navigate the waters of this industry, and you've managed to do it with a hell of a lot of style and entertainment for all of us that watch your show. So thank you for that, and keep going, man. Just keep going.
Hey guys, before we wrap it up here, I want to say two things. One is thanks, Bud. Thanks for coming on, like he said, with 2 episodes. And I wore this shirt specifically because no one has heard enough about the new Bronco. It hasn't been anywhere. And, it's, oh my God, it's inundated
I thought you were a fan of Denver.
But, the other thing is that at the beginning of the show, you mentioned how Chip couldn't walk through an airport. Neither can I, but the difference is it's because my face is on those little posters. So
yeah, right. Yeah. PSA is coming after Brad.
Yes.
Hey, guys, thanks so much.
Thanks.
As always,
to Shift and Steer. Matt, where can they find us online, please?
Yeah, as always, find us out at shiftandsteer.com. We appreciate the nice reviews and the 5 stars on iTunes. It always helps. So, thanks, guys. You can find me at Moderator as well, constantly driving cars and testing and posting all that stuff up there. So
right. And where can we find your company, Bud?
We are at bcitv.com is my website. Bud Brutsman on our LinkedIn, BCI Productions on our LinkedIn, also our Instagram. We're pretty dialed in. We weekly, daily post stuff that keeps on going out. So you kind of get we use it all business. So yeah, definitely check us out on social media. We're posting regularly.
All right. Well, we're out of time. So we lose, man. You'll find us. Check us out next time. Thanks, everybody. Shift and Steer. We're out of here.
Thanks,
I gotta
guys.
say, Bud, I took a lot of notes today. That's a first.
Cool. Hey, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend, and Bud, thanks again.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
You the man.